What's going on, guys? Welcome to Titan Town for what is always our biggest video of the year, a full off-season projection for the Tennessee Titans, which includes a free agency mock and a 7-round mock draft. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into this.
You know they were, they will always be heroes to good old boys like me, the real Titans of Tennessee.
Alright, so I did this year just a little bit different than what I've done years in the past previously. This year I used FanSpeak, the Ultimate GM package for $11.95. You can do the same thing throughout the year. And if you want, I can make this a weekly thing. Just let me know in the comments below if you want me to run through and see who I can get each week, because it's always different. This is just how this one turned out. And so I'll leave a link in the description box for that if you would like to try it too. Also check me out on Twitter and Facebook. I'm going to do some more community videos, which I've done some this previous week. I'm actually doing a bulk recording today. So this is Sunday. You're probably going to be getting this on either Thursday or Friday. There's a few videos that you need to see before you see this one. So let's go ahead and jump right into this. The first thing that I did was I cut Dion Lewis, Darren Bates, and Blaine Gabbert. So I cut those three guys, which added me about $7 or $8 million in cap space after the cuts. Then re-signing our players, I re-signed Kevin Pamphile and Will Compton. I signed these guys to very cheap contracts. Will Compton seems to be a guy who is very good on special teams. We was paying him $2 million last year. I signed him on a $1.2 million deal for 2 years with 50% of that guaranteed just in case we do happen to cut him. Kevin Pamphile, I signed him to, just as a depth guy. I signed him to a $1 million contract for 2 years with 50% of that guaranteed as well. And I just wanted to bring up real quick, Darren Bates, man, he is making way too much money for what we pay him for. Cutting him saves us over $2.5 million. That is way too much money for a special teamers to make, especially when wearing number 53. Keith Bulluck wore 53. I don't feel like Darren Bates is good enough to wear that number, but Keith Bulluck is one of my favorite Titans of all time. So let's move on to free agency. The first guy I signed us a veteran pass rusher in Jadeveon Clowney. I signed him to a 5-year, $18.5 million a year with 60% of that guaranteed. I feel like the Titans should go after a veteran pass rusher. Our two starters to start last season are going to be gone. Brian Orakpo retired. Derek Morgan has stated that he would like to check out the market for him and see what's available to him during this offseason. He is a pending free agent, and I feel like Jadeveon Clowney, that's what the Titans really need, is an elite pass rusher, because we just haven't had that the last couple of years. We've had a solid pass rush. We've had a good pass rush. We've had to blitz a lot to get a lot of the sacks we got. We haven't been able to just send 4 guys and get them, but Jadeveon Clowney would really take the Titans to the next level. And secondly, I signed Ryan Tannehill. Shout out to Tatted Titans on Twitter, who actually posted a comment about Ryan Tannehill. The Titans maybe should go after him when he's cut by the Dolphins. I signed him to a 2-year, $10 million contract with 50% of that guaranteed. And I'm not promising him anything except for an opportunity to compete. We've heard time and time again the Titans say that competition brings out the best in people. Marcus Mariota has not had any competition. Who has he had to compete with him for a starting job? Zach Mettenberger, Matt Castle, and now Blaine Gabbert. None of them are really any competition to him, and he is still a question mark for us. So we're going to go out and sign somebody who can compete with him, possibly win this job, if not push him to that next level that we need him to play at. And if neither guy works out, we'll just keep Ryan Tannehill for 1 more year and let him be our scapegoat quarterback until the 2020 draft, and we'll trade up and we'll get somebody like Jake Fromm, who I'm very high on. I really love Jake Fromm, just saying. And next, we signed another pass rusher, another solid guy, and Za'Darius Smith, who played with the Baltimore Ravens, played under Dean Pease. This is a guy that Teron Davenport really likes, who really thinks would fit the Titans system because of his versatility, what he's able to do. He's had quality playing time there in Baltimore. I signed him to a 4-year, $6.5 million a year contract with 70% of that guaranteed, which is going to make our pass rush phenomenal, having Jadeveon Clowney, Harold Landry, Za'Darius Smith, Sharif Finch, and also Kameli Correa. That would make our pass rush very dangerous. That's a very good core of guys to have at the pass rusher position. Then I also was able to sign us a veteran wide receiver, and a very good one at that, and Demaryius Thomas. I signed him to a 3-year, $3.1 million a year contract with 60% of that guaranteed. I feel like we need a veteran in our room. I know Corey Davis said he is ready to step up and be a leader in the locker room, but we still need that veteran guy, somebody who's dependable and who can also help Corey Davis develop a little better, because Demaryius Thomas and Corey Davis are very similar in their play styles and their builds, so I feel like this would really help Corey Davis's development, along with giving us another dependable pass catcher for whoever we have playing at quarterback. We'll have Delaney Walker coming back. We'll have Corey Davis. Then we'll have Demaryius Thomas as well. Derrick Henry coming out of the backfield. We're going to make our offense very dangerous, I feel like. And that is it for free agency. Now, there could be some more guys that I'm just not familiar with that we can sign to cheap contracts, who can come in and be depth guys. Can be guys that maybe we stick on our practice squad, or just guys who to fill up our 90-man roster for the preseason. But I'm just not familiar enough with the other teams to say exactly who those guys might be. After the free agency period, we still had $16.5 million in cap space left available, which for some reason Kenny Vaccaro is not on the Fanspeak website. I don't know why. I would have re-signed him if he was. He wasn't a part of the free agency either, so maybe they just think he retired or something. I'm not sure what they're thinking there, but signing Kenny Vaccaro would probably cost us about another $3 or $4, possibly $5 million, which would have brought us to somewhere between the $10 million range and the, I don't know, $13, $14 million range left in available salary cap. Then you also have to have about $7 to $8 million left to sign the rookies that you draft. Now, I preferably would have liked to have had about $20 million left over to roll over to next year, to put on top of next year's salary cap, because next year things are going to loosen up a little bit. Taylor Lewan is making a big chunk of money this year. Marcus Mariota is making a big chunk of money this year. That's about almost $40 million between those two guys alone. So it will loosen up a little bit, but I really had to spend this cap space to really get us over that hump and make us a championship contender team. So let's move on to the draft. In round one of this draft, and let me mention before we jump into this draft, I did do some trades. I traded with the Jacksonville Jaguars in exchange for our second round pick. I gave them our second round pick, number 19 in the second round, and they gave us the 5th pick in the third round, the 30th pick in the third round, a round 6 pick at 5, and a round 7 pick, and we didn't even have a round 6 pick at all. And then followed that up in the third round, I traded the 30th pick overall to the Dallas Cowboys and received two 4th round picks and a 5th round pick. So with our first pick at 19 overall, I selected Christian Wilkins. I feel like this is Jarrell Casey 2.0 with his build, his style of play. He's going to be good against the pass, good against the run. The fans are going to love him. His teammates are going to love him. Very athletic guy. He's going to fit in very nicely in our locker room. And usually every year I have a guy that I'm saying for sure this is who the Titans are going to draft. In the past, it's been Corey Davis. I knew, by the way, Mike Mularkey was talking about what they needed in a receiver, what John Robinson was saying about a receiver. Turning on Corey Davis's film, and that was him all the way. That was Corey Davis. Next year, I was never as sure on a prospect as I was Corey Davis, but I did feel like the Titans were going to wind up with Rashaan Evans. Part of me hoped that Leighton Vander Esch would fall to us, but I felt like Rashaan Evans was going to be a Titan. So anyways, this year I'm really leaning towards Christian Wilkins right now. So we didn't have a second round pick. With our third round pick at number 5 overall, or number 5 in the third round, we selected Kelvin Harmon, wide receiver out of North Carolina State. This guy kind of reminds me of T.Y. Hilton with the Colts. Very good route runner, has top end speed, nice pair of hands, very sharp in and out of his cuts. I feel like I think he's about my 3rd overall receiver in this draft class. I like A.J. Brown and N'Keal Harry a little better than him, but him being available in the 3rd round, I absolutely jumped on it. With our next pick in the 3rd round at 19 in the 3rd round, 18 in the 3rd round, I selected Garrett Bradbury, another prospect out of North Carolina State who is a center. And with this pick, after the draft, we may be even able to cut Ben Jones or Josh Klein to save us even more salary cap space. But check out my video about should the Titans play with the offensive line, which I'm going to release before this one, to get some more depth in that. Cutting Ben Jones would save us a little more in cap. That would make us thin at the center position if someone was to get hurt. Josh Klein is a guy you're kind of iffy about. But like I said, check out that other video to get more in-depth about that. As for Garrett Bradbury, he's very good at getting to the next level and getting on his blocks, plays with good techniques. I feel like he is a little bit undersized for the NFL, and he hasn't played against the best competition there at North Carolina State, like some of these guys in the SEC or the ACC or the Big 12 or the Big 10 or whatever have played against. But for being there in the third round at the position, I felt like this was somebody the Titans could look at going up and grabbing. In the fourth round, at pick 19th pick in the fourth round, excuse me saying this overall stuff, but with the 19th pick in the fourth round, the Titans selected Rodney Anderson, the running back out of Oklahoma. Now, we cut Deion Lewis and David Llewellyn left in free agency, so now we have Rodney Anderson. Now, this guy could have been the best running back in this draft class if it wasn't for injuries. This guy has only been healthy for one full season in college, but his athleticism is just off the charts. And luckily, we're not going to need him to be a starting back. He's just going to be our breather back and our change of pace back for Derrick Henry. But as long as he's healthy, the team should not miss the beat. He might even possibly be able to challenge Derrick Henry for a starting spot or even split carries with him as Deion Lewis did this year if he is able to stay healthy. That is a big if, but I feel like in the fourth round, this is a good place to take a gamble on him. At the 34th overall pick in the fourth round, we selected Ben Powers, another guard out of Oklahoma. That Oklahoma line had the best offensive line in college football this year. Ben Powers played on the left side of that offensive line. He's pretty good in pass protection. I think he's better a pass protector than he is a run blocker. He's got good size for the NFL, plays a good technique when it comes to getting to the second level. That's what you're really looking for in your guard. You want them to be dominant run blockers. You want them to be able to get to the second level. When he's playing pass protection, he's got good hands, good set of hands, so I really like that about him as well. He could be a very good depth guy for the Titans and possibly develop into a starter somewhere down the line. With the 19th pick in the fifth round, the Titans selected Tyree Brady, another wide receiver out of Marshall, another big target for Marcus Mariota, a guy who can go up and attack the football. I'd like to see him have a little bit better route running, but that's something he can work on in the NFL. He's not going to be one of our starters. He'll be a depth guy. He'll be a breather guy for whenever our other wide receivers get winded, but I feel like he is an above-average depth guy and could also be a red zone threat. When we go out to the red zone, we can march him, Corey Davis, Demaryius Thomas, Delaney Walker out on the field, have Derrick Henry in the backfield. It's going to be hard to stop when you get that and you're on the 5 or the 6 or 4 or whatever you're at. That's going to be a hard team to stop from scoring. With the 27th pick in the fifth round that we got from the Dallas Cowboys, we selected running back Justice Hill. Now, this guy was a very dominant running back in college. He's not overly big. He's not really a speedy guy, but he's very shifty, kind of like a Maurice Jones-Drew type of back. He could be our third running back and maybe a change of pace back. If Rodney Anderson does go down, I would trust him in that role. He broke a lot of records there at Oklahoma State while he had Marcus Arroyo as his offensive coordinator or his running back coach. Moving on to the sixth round with the fifth pick, we selected Mitch Hyatt, offensive tackle out of Clemson. This guy has years and years of experience starting at the left tackle position, but I feel like he will fit better as a guard in the NFL, and he might be able to come in and start and challenge it for a starting job at that left guard spot against Corey Levin or Ben Jones or Ben Powers or whoever. Just I think he could really challenge for a starting spot right there, but because of the depth of this offensive line class and because of his size and lack of athleticism and the position he plays, he falls this far. Realistically, I don't see him falling this far. You think of the Williams guy, who is considered one of the top overall left tackles in the NFL or in the college football last year out of Texas. The Cowboys drafted him in the second round. He wasn't the first offensive tackle off the board, but the Cowboys ended up picking him up, moving him to left guard. I can see Mitch Hyatt doing the exact same thing. With the 19th pick in the seventh round, the Titans selected Tony Pollard. Now, this guy could be like our Darren Sproles or our Deion Lewis type of back. It's kind of a little bit small, but a good pass catcher, very shifty, very hard to tackle in space. He's going to be hard to tackle on those one-on-one tackles. Very dynamic running back out of Memphis. And it's a lot of this stuff on this side is not really realistic, but if it's available, I went ahead and took it. and I don't feel like he'll be available in the 7th round. I figure he's going to go in the 6th. I don't think I doubt he'll make it to us in the 7th round. We'll see. Just like this next guy that we took out of the University of Florida, Martez Ivy, another one of the, I don't know, I feel like he's more of a mid-round type of guard, but he was available in the 7th round, so I went ahead and jumped on him as well. So that's going to give us a lot of competition in our offensive line, a lot of competition at our edge rusher position and our wide receiver position for sure. I'm going to run down what our roster would look like very quickly after this offseason projection. I actually ended up with 53 players on the dot, so it actually worked out very well. Quarterbacks, Marcus Mariota and Ryan Tannehill, 2 of those. Running backs, we ended with 4. Derrick Henry, Rodney Anderson, Justice Hill, and Tony Pollard. Wide receivers, Corey Davis, we have 6 of those. Corey Davis, Demaryius Thomas, Taywan Taylor, Kelvin Harmon, Tajay Sharp, and Tyree Brady. Tight ends, we have 4, Delaney Walker, Jonnu Smith, McCole Pruitt, and Anthony Frisker. Offensive line, we have Tim, Taylor Lewan, Jack Conklin, Ben Jones, Josh Klein, Corey Levin, Garrett Bradbury, Mitch Hyatt, Kevin Pampill, Ben Powers, Martez Ivy. Defensive line, we have 5, Jarrell Casey, Daquan Jones, Christian Wilkins, Austin Johnson, and Quisenberry. Edge rushers, we have 5, Jadeveon Clowney, Harold Landry, Za'Darius Smith, Sharif Finch. Linebackers, we have 5, Wesley Woodyard, Jayon Brown, Rashawn Evans, Will Compton, Cameron Smith, who actually missed in the draft, but he is a guy who is a good coverage linebacker who could come in and play special teams for us and maybe add a little bit of depth as well. Cornerbacks, we have 5, Adoree Jackson, Malcolm Butler, Logan Ryan, LaShawn Sims, and Kevin Durden. Safeties, we have 4, Kevin Byard, Kenny Vaccaro, Jonathan Cyprien, and Dane Cruikshank. Special teamers, we have 3 of those as usual, Ryan Suckup, Brett Kern, and Bo Brinkley. Anyways, guys, if you enjoyed this full offseason projection, leave a like on the video. Comment, let me know what you think, what you would have changed, players you think I should target, and whether or not you want me to make this a weekly thing. So I hope you guys have a great day. Thanks for watching. God bless, and tighten up.
The opposition got them loose screws, tell them fools to tighten up.